Okay, so this is part 2 of me getting fired while I was on medical leave. I want to go back to something I said in part 1 about the coaching plan. That was the first indication that there was something wrong. Like up until then, I had no idea what was coming. So beginning of July, I put on a coaching plan. And I'm sorry about that other video being so wobbly. I'm going to try not to do that this time, and I promise after today I'll use a tripod or something. But I wanted to get this done because I have been telling people I was going to do it. All right, so it's the end of July. I'm not doing well. The psychiatrist is working with me. I'm not getting better. And I remember it was a Friday. Well, no, July ended. Y'all not going to believe this. Well, you might. July ended, and I had X revenue that I had to book in the month of July, or I was going to be on a PIP. And July ended, and I had not booked that business. And so I fully expected to be PIP'd on that Thursday or Friday. I can't remember. I think it was Friday was the 1st. So Friday comes and goes, and nothing is said to me about it. And I got increasingly more anxious as that day went on. And turned out I had a therapy appointment that afternoon at 4 o'clock, and I was a mess. And I was in the therapist's office, and I was telling her, what was happening, and that I'm not getting better, I'm getting worse. And anyway, she called my doctor, and I talked to the doctor from her office, and basically he said, don't go back to work on Monday. You're on medical leave. So, came home, got through the weekend, got to Monday morning, and before 8 o'clock, put a call into my boss. He didn't answer. He called back not too long after that, said he was out walking his dog, and I told him that I wasn't well and that I was going to be out medically, and I didn't know how long I would be out, but it'd probably be at least a couple of weeks, maybe longer, I didn't know. And he proceeded to say, like, oh, well, we have a meeting on Wednesday. Are you going to be able to come to the meeting on Wednesday? And I said, no, I'm not well. I'm not going to meet with anybody on Wednesday. And then I asked him, how did he want my out of office set up? And I set my out of office and hung up the phone. And I got this real bad feeling because I didn't have any trust with this person. And I really didn't want the whole world knowing that I was out on medical leave and it was not physical. So I wrote an email to this person and this person's boss and basically said, per our conversation, I'm out on medical leave. Due to the sensitivity of the situation, I expect complete confidence. And I closed my laptop, and I haven't opened it since then. I went out of my home office into my den, and my heart was racing so hard. I thought I might be sick. And I remember trying to breathe and trying to calm myself down, and I didn't feel better. That was like at 8:30 in the morning, and I did not feel better until lunchtime. And yeah, that was the beginning of my medical leave of absence. So all of August, September, October, I was out working with therapists, working with my psychiatrist, doing all the things to get myself to feeling better. And my doctor was filing paperwork and all that. So fast forward to November, and my doctor thinks I'm ready to go back to work. And I was pretty anxious about it, but I wanted to go back. And I had told everybody involved that I wanted to be at work. I wanted to be productive again. But I was worried about backsliding into the same thing that had happened to me in the summer. I think I didn't mention, but sometime between not working and November, I had gotten a lot worse before I got better, and I got sick enough that my doctor did not allow me to drive for a period of time. So just if that gives you any idea, if you can be that messed up in the head that you shouldn't be operating a vehicle. And I'm happy to answer any questions about it, but essentially it, it was a little bit like a TBI, but it wasn't caused by an injury, it was caused by distress. So anyway, my doctor decided, and I decided with him, that I needed to try to go back to work, and so he wrote a letter requesting that I be able to be allowed to return to work on a part-time basis for 30 days, and that I had a liaison to assist me, and that I had limited communication with a certain person at work. And so that was in November, middle of November, before Thanksgiving. Not early November, but certainly mid-November. Well, it took about, I didn't write all this down, so I'm going from memory, which is difficult, but I think it took about a month for the employer to respond to that request. And so I didn't go back to work until we got the answer, and the answer was no. The answer was, we cannot make that accommodation. So, we go through the holidays, we go through the beginning of the year. By now, I'm well, and I'm ready to go back to work, but the doctor's not going to release me without some assurances from the employer that certain boundaries are respected and certain safeguards are in place. And they never did. And so, fast forward to, that's where we were all the way through December, January. I want to say it was in January that they finally said no to the part-time thing. I don't know the exact dates, and that's not even important. The point is, my doctor was telling my employer what I needed to be able to safely return to work, and my employer said no. And now this is a publicly traded company that has to be FMLA compliant because it's big. Yeah, I was astounded by that. I was really astounded by that. My therapist could not believe it. My doctor could not believe it. So, yeah. So I was in limbo land with no real clarity on the status of my employment until about a week ago. Yeah, tomorrow will be a week ago. I get an email from HR, and it says, because you've exhausted your benefits, your last day is Monday the 30th. So, at the end of the day, Monday the 30th, I will no longer be an employee of this company who is directly responsible for my mental meltdown. You know, back in the day, we would call it a nervous breakdown, and that's basically what happened to me. The work environment caused it. I'm going to do a part 3 because there's some things I didn't say that I think are important. The work environment caused it. The doctor stated so. I'm now on 3 times as much antidepressant. I've got an anti-anxiety medicine. I've got the strongest dosage of a sleeping medicine. So I'm a lot better, but I'm heavily medicated. And I'm going to have to work with my doctor now to see if I can come off some of this medicine, because prior to this, I took a Zyrtec every day because of allergies and a really low dose antidepressant. That's it. So yeah, that's what happened. Part 3 is coming up.